How can you be part of the 1%? The 1% richer, healthier, happier, and not be part of the 99%. Having studied and looked into the lives of wealthy but also very healthy and happy people, I've come to see that there are different patterns that show up time and time and time and time and time again. Whether it's someone who's very fit, or someone that's very happy and fulfilled in their life, or someone who's managed to grow a 7, 8, 9, 10 figure business. They are patterns that show up all the time, and this is something that you can do, I can do, we can all do to help us to shift. Of course, if we all did it, it wouldn't be 1% anymore, but then hey, the whole world would be super fit, eating really healthily, and extremely, positive and upbeat, and that would be pretty cool. So I think it's worthwhile to share with absolutely everyone. So in this video, we'll look at what are some of the habits that you can put in place to help you to shift from being in the 99% to in the 1%, and how you can sustain this over time. The very first habit is something you're probably not thinking about. Maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, I've heard I should make my bed first thing in the morning, or have a cold shower, or drink a certain type of tea, or do the exercise routine. Some of these are great. We'll talk about cold shower and exercise for sure, but that's not the fundamental bit. You can still be exercising and reading and not part of the 1%. The fundamental part is thinking. The way you think determines your entire life. If you consistently focus on problems, if you consistently feel you are a victim of circumstances and surroundings, and everything is happening to you, and you feel you should blame or complain about people and situations, it doesn't matter how much you exercise. You will maintain a mindset that keeps you at a lower level of fulfillment. This isn't all about just becoming rich. It's also about how you can be more fulfilled in your life and healthier. My aim for you after watching this video isn't, a quick rich theme, yay, I'm in the top 1% billionaires in the world. Maybe you'll become it, great. But it's more, what are certain habits and processes you can put in place so that you feel healthier mentally, physically, fulfilled, and from that place, chances are your financial situation probably will improve also. That's sort of a consequence. But the most important is what's going on in here? What's going on in your mind? And we don't look at our thoughts often enough. Have you noticed what type of thoughts you have on a daily basis? What are the main themes? What are the main questions you have? What's your overall perspective on other people and situations and surroundings? This is where it all begins. We need to start shifting our way of thinking. Now, this isn't some sort of positive psychology, let's all be happy and only think of good stuff. No, it's about reframing and shifting the entire lens. Most of us, by default, have a lens that is tinted by our past experiences and traumas. Things have happened in the past that have affected you and marked you, and this has tinted your lens, and therefore you have fears that come up, doubts that come up, certain things that really irritate you. And if you don't clean that lens, this shows up time and time again. Now what happens is then those thoughts lead to certain feelings and emotions that you'll have every day, and from those feelings and emotions, this leads to certain actions. So if you don't change your thinking pattern, then your emotions will stay the same. The actions will stay the same-ish. Maybe use a bit of discipline and motivation and change them, but it's not sufficient. And then the ultimate results will be the same. So it all begins by shifting your own thought pattern. How do you do that? First, become aware. How do you become aware? Journaling, meditation. Speaking with maybe a therapist or coach. Those are the three main tools. Firstly, I'd recommend meditation, because when you're meditating and you're in silence, you see your thoughts going by. The idea isn't to not have any thoughts when you meditate. The idea is to see your own thoughts and not let them disturb the process. So you start to notice your own thoughts. Then when you journal, again, a lot of clarity. You can do that morning pages exercise that Julia Cameron talks about in The Artist's Way, which is 3 handwritten pages every morning. Then you'll start to see certain patterns and what's coming up. And if you talk with a coach or with a therapist, again, certain patterns will come up. So that's the very first step. Any change always happens with awareness. Once you have awareness, you can start shifting your thoughts. How do you do that? Most of us think that thinking just sort of happens and we can't influence it. This isn't true. You can change your way of thinking. This is 200%. You can change your thoughts, what you think about, how you think, and it just takes practice. It's like a muscle. The way you change your thoughts is through changing the questions that you have going on in your mind. If your go-to question is, why does this keep happening to me? Why is everything so unfair? Why is this so hard? Why can't I manage this? Why am I so lazy? Guess what? Your brain will say, well, you're really not good at this, or you're not worthy, or this is why you're not good. Start to catch, once you have that awareness, catch that thought. When you're thinking, why am I not good at this? Catch it, whoop, pause, reframe it. What could I put in place to be able to do this? Or how could I delegate it if something you don't want to do? Or what are some inner resources I could use here that would help me move forward? Have a list, 5-10 questions that are empowering, and start to reprogram your mind with those questions. Every morning when you journal, you could ask these questions. What do I really want? Not what you don't want. What actions could I put in place to make it happen? Not why is it so hard? Who could I talk to that would support me with this? Not why am I so alone on this journey? See what I mean? You shift the questions you ask yourself, both in your internal dialogue but also when you're writing, and it shifts the lens. This takes time. Of course, not overnight you start asking these questions and suddenly you're happy-dappy. No, okay, let's be realistic. Any big change that you want to create in your whole life takes time and takes practice. So you want to write down, what action could I put in place? Where do I really want to go? What's a pattern that's getting in the way that I could change? What's something I'm really excited about right now? Get yourself in a high state. You want to shift your way of thinking, and from there you have new thought patterns, then new emotions come up, and then you take new actions. Now, something really important about shifting thinking. Both you could do this cognitively, which is what we're saying now, by changing and asking yourself new questions, but you can also do this physiologically. When you've slept well, you eat a diet that isn't inflammatory, so no sugar, alcohol, all the processed foods. You exercise, you do cold showers. Your whole body changes, literally your physiology, your hormones, maybe you get a dose of endorphins, you feel maybe calmer, oxytocin. Then by default, your mind will be a little healthier and the more empowering questions and thoughts will happen more naturally. Maybe you've noticed that when you're on holiday or you've gone for a long hike or after maybe a small morning run, you think more expansively and better. Amazing. I would really recommend doing both. It's great to be all cognitive in your mind. How can I change the questions in my head and catch it and meditate and shift the... Great. And it does work. You need to do it all the time. Great other tool for shifting thoughts pattern is to ask yourself, what am I grateful for right now? Whenever you're in the dumps and you're feeling low and unmotivated, you pause and you think, what am I specifically grateful for now? Your brain will look for something. So, I'm grateful for that. That changes your thoughts too. So that's another cognitive tool. So we want cognitive, new questions, what am I grateful for? And then we want to use the body, because it's so much more work to change your whole way of thinking when you haven't slept well, you have only eaten sweets and drunk alcohol every single evening for the last week, you haven't exercised or moved from the couch. Yes, you can practice doing the cognitive, what are some actions am I going to take and what am I excited about? And it might work for a bit, but after a while, subconscious brain, fatigue, all the hormones in the body, and you're back in a slump. And if you're just doing it cognitively, it can be tiring. It demands a lot of cognitive awareness also, and it is effective, but I don't think it's effective on its own. We need to change the physiology. So you need to look at what are some of the habits that you can put in place, such as cold shower, big fan, big fan, cold shower, cold bath, morning swim, whatever it is. That really helps to wake up the body. But exercise, maybe it's yoga or Pilates, maybe it's a run, the gym, whatever, walk, dance, any form of exercise is good. It gets the body moving. Working standing is also good, not being seated, and making sure that your diet and nutrition is healthy. All of these things help you to have a better physiology, better body, hormones. Your body just functions better, and your brain is inside your body, no surprise. And so if your body isn't inflamed, your brain isn't inflamed. So if you're eating a non-inflammatory diet, your brain isn't inflamed, it thinks more clearly, it adapts to that environment, and then you feel better. Okay, so coming back to our core theme here, which is how can you get into the 1%? All begins with the thinking. What have we learned? You shift cognitively, ask yourself better questions, and quick fix gratitude. What am I grateful for now? Combined with shift your body. Make sure that you're embracing what I call NEST: nutrition, exercise, sleep, and time out. Not always being plugged in all the time, and ideally time out in nature. So if you have great nutrition, exercise, sleep, time out in nature, combined with a shift in questions and gratitude. That's the first part. You change your thinking. Now, some of you might be wondering now, how can you change nutrition? How can you build exercise? Right. The answer to that is baby steps. Take one area, look at something that you want to improve on, and if it's, for example, nutrition, just, I don't know, let's say you have a sugar addiction, very common, then you just maybe do one sugar-free day a week, then 2, then 3, until you gradually don't eat sugar. Great, that's huge progress on your nutrition. Then you continue, okay, now you're not eating sugar, you cut out alcohol, boom, 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 boom. It's all about, first you need the clarity of what the outcome is, and then the purpose to do it. When you have that, then it's easier to build those baby steps. That's how you really create any habit and any new action and pattern you want in your life. First, clear what it is, what's the outcome, then clear why you're doing it, then baby steps, and keep momentum. Don't start too strong, too fast, because that's when you lose motivation. Okay, so changing your question cognitively, changing the body, the physiology, cold showers, exercise, NEST, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and time out. Then, once that has changed your thinking, your emotions will start to change. You'll feel differently about your life. And you want to keep a focus on what you want. Again, this comes down to changing your perspective. Focus on what you want in your life, not what you don't want. Most people are reactive, and they keep trying to manipulate and change outer circumstances to just not hurt themselves, and so they just want the whole world to adapt, not to hurt them, instead of them choosing how they respond to life and them choosing what they actually want and taking steps in that direction. So you change the emotions, you start to take the core actions, and then you'll get new results. So how do you become part of that 1%? By embracing discomfort. The actions that people take that are at a very high level and that are very successful all take very uncomfortable actions all the time. Why have I spoken so much about thinking? Is because once you've changed your way of thinking and your perspective, you're able to do more uncomfortable actions. It goes together because you're no longer seeing this from a place of, oh, you maybe should at one point exercise. You've changed your perspective and you think, I get to exercise. What could I put in place? You're changing the questions in your mind, and then doing the uncomfortable action is what follows. So what makes people extremely successful, fulfilled, happy, healthy, is to do hard stuff. There's no other way of putting this. This hard choices, easy life. Now let's look different categories. Health means getting up early, exercising, eating healthily, all demand a lot of self-discipline, which is why once you've changed your way of thinking, you have more discipline. Business might be doing some sales deal, applying to positions that are high up and you need to negotiate maybe a salary if you're an employee, doing maybe some keynote speaking if you have your own business. All of these are hard. And once you learn to fall in love with the discomfort and that feeling of growth and progress and learning along the way, that's when you tap into that 1%. And you'll see there's two things that really differentiate the 1% and the 99%. Or if you prefer, the people who are fulfilled and healthy and happy and rich and everyone else. The first thing is the quality of their thinking. So feeling and thinking in an ownership way, in an empowered way, in a way that they see the solutions and not just the problems. And the second is in their actions. So that's why we began with thinking, and then that leads to different types of actions. And with different types of actions, it's uncomfortable actions. Whether it's like Michael Jordan doing that 1,000 shots every single day to practice to become the best basketball player, whether it's a business person who literally reaches out to all the investors and does pitch after pitch after pitch. This is what they all have in common. Seriously, you want to become top in anything? Just shift the way you think, high awareness and high cognitive change and body, and take action. Action, 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 action. Aligned action. Aligned means it's aligned with your values, it's aligned with your vision, it's aligned with what's important for you. If you're just taking action that you feel you should and the rest of the world is telling you to do it, but it's not actually aligned with what you want to do, that doesn't work. But if you want to be a great basketball player, practice those shots. Want to be a great writer? Write. The more you write, the more you will learn, the more you'll hone your craft. And for me, being in that top 1% doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be, the next billionaire. Sorry to disappoint you. But it means you will be living aligned and taking action each day towards your goals, your aspirations, your vision, what's important for you. And that's what matters most. I've written quite a bit, and there's 2 books I wrote and never published. I didn't even try to get them published, but it still felt great. There were still things I wanted to put in paper and express and live. So it's not just about the results or the fame or the money. It's about, are you taking action each day on things that are important for you? Are you taking action toward maintaining great health and relationships? For me, that's the top 1%. That's the real truth. For me, the top 1% are not on the cover of Forbes of billionaires. They're the people that when I meet them, they have a clarity of thinking, an empowered way. They see solutions everywhere. They take full ownership of their response. They're not blaming the world around them. And each day they're taking action and progressing in their life. It could be the actions that they're taking is doing some painting as a hobby and they love it and they never earn any money through it. For me, that is still success. Maybe you disagree. Maybe that's not your vision of success, and I respect that. But for me, they're using their precious life and time on earth in an intentional way in something that fulfills them. And that makes them in the top 1%. Because the rest of the world is just reacting. They're reacting to whatever comes their way, and they're not consciously and intentionally choosing how they spend their time. They're in sort of default autopilot mode. And that's when we tend to be unfulfilled. So a lot of things in today's episode. Shifting your way of thinking through the question and the gratitude. Shifting your body and physiology, the cold showers, nest, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and time out. Leads to a change in action. Start to fall in love with both the journey and the process, but also that discomfort. And maybe ask yourself, what would the top 1% look like for you? What would you feel like if you were in the top 1%? What would that feel like to you? What's your definition? And what are the actions you need to take to meet that definition? Because, hey, that was my definition, and I take the actions to meet my definition. But your definition might be differently. And are you taking action and shifting your thought patterns to get there? If you haven't signed up or subscribed to the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel And let me know in the comments what's your main takeaway, what actions you want to put in place, maybe an extra comment about another thought that I haven't mentioned, and any question. I will answer all the questions in the comments personally myself. Thank you for watching. Tune in to check out the latest video that I did on focus. Thank you for watching.